Welcome to FCPS All-Stars. Our guest today is Lera Straits, English teacher at the Career and Technology Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you with us today.
Happy to be here.
Frederick County has experienced a lot of growth in the housing market. I mean, it seems like every year I look around and I see more bigger, better, more beautiful houses with more amenities, just better than the year before. But I think that's not quite your style. Is that true?
That is true. That is true. We live in a very old, quirky family home in Frederick County.
Okay. And what makes it so quirky?
Well, the fact that it's over, 100 years old to start makes it quirky. But it's also a family home. My great-grandfather actually built the home that we live in. It was a rental property for many years, but we've been able to purchase it. And my great-grandfather built the house as a wedding present for my great-grandmother.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
And whether this is urban legend, I'm not exactly sure, but there's a gum tree in the backyard, and supposedly Civil War soldiers ate lunch under it. And my great-grandmother always loved that tree. So they were married in 1904, and we think the house was built somewhere around then, give or take a few years. But he built it as a wedding present for her. So I now live in my great-grandparents' home.
Wow. So you have been born and raised in Frederick County?
Yes. Born, raised, educated, taught, employed, yes.
Once I've lived somewhere, it's always my house. So that was my old apartment or my old house. It's always mine. So
yes.
When you moved into this house, did it come with any instructions or any do's and don'ts from your mother or your grandmother?
Well, mostly from my grandmother. My grandmother was still alive at the time, and there are some pictures that are hanging right now on the east wall. And they were pictures that have always been there. I'm not exactly sure. I think they were lost at some point or put in a closet somewhere in some family members. But when we moved in, she said these pictures need to be hung there. And we had a piano. She played the piano, and the piano had to go on that wall in the east room.
Wow.
So we no longer have the piano in the house. But yes, there were definitely instructions, and we still refer to the rooms by the same names.
Really?
There's the summer kitchen, and there's the sleeping porch, and it's just something that she always referred to.
So what is it like living in a house that was made more than a century ago?
Well, there's always a project. Constantly a project.
Okay.
So it can make you a little crazy. It's not just chipping paint, but it's, when we first moved in, and there was a single bathtub without a shower. And my husband, when we were moving, wanted to hook up the stereo, and there wasn't a single 3-prong outlet.
Whoa.
So when we moved in, that was one of the first things we realized we needed to do. We needed a shower immediately. We've since added another bathroom.
Well, your husband needed to sing in the shower.
And absolutely.
And that wasn't a possibility in a house that's 100 years old.
Exactly. And yeah, so electrical updating, plumbing needs, there's always work to be done. At the same time, we repurpose the rooms. As I have 2 boys, and so as the boys have grown, the rooms become different.
Did your grandmother get to come to the house while she was still living after you moved in?
Yes, she did. She did. For a few years, she was able to make the trip, and she would just walk around the rooms and remember, just remember. She remembered where her mother would keep all of her canned goods in the summer kitchen, and she would can, because in that time period, living was surviving.
That's true.
Canning wasn't a hobby; it was out of necessity.
Necessity, absolutely.
My great-grandmother had a sewing room, and my grandmother remembers the sewing room. She remembers the children at the time. She and her brother grew up there. and they slept off of the master bedroom. They slept off of my great-grandparents' bedroom in a sleeping porch. Well, teenagers today would never,
oh my
children
gosh.
today would never, they would not want to be that close to their parents.
No.
So we've converted into a closet now, but and back in those days, they didn't have needs for closets. So
I mean, they probably had what, a couple pair of shoes, like work shoes and Sunday shoes,
absolutely,
and work clothes and Sunday clothes, and
yeah,
our needs have changed.
our needs have changed. Our needs have changed. So that's one of the things I often think about in the house is we repurposed the house to meet our needs, and they certainly used it differently. But yes, she marveled at being able to come back in the house.
That's really cool.
So it's fun.
So what's the hardest thing about living in an older house? Because people always say, oh, I want an older house. It's got so much character. It's got good bones.
Yes.
So what's the flip side of that?
Well, the flip side is raising 2 children in today's society, busy, and working, and finding time to maintain the house and do the projects. We don't have air conditioning. We have central air upstairs, but on the main level, it's window units. And we've looked into that, and that's, every major project is could be a semester at college. And so that would be,
When you think
the hardest
about it,
part about living in the old house is doing some of these renovations.
like energy efficiency,
Right.
like is it creaky? Do the windows
We put
have
in
nice
on-
fresh air coming in? That's a politically correct way to say it.
Right. Well, now they don't. We've been able to put in all new windows.
Okay.
Originally, there was a coal furnace, and my great-grandfather would shovel coal in the mornings into the furnace. And then eventually that was converted to an oil boiler, but that was incredibly inefficient. And then just last year, we were able to convert to a high efficiency hot water heater and boiler.
Wow.
Through natural gas, but that's only been in this past year, and incredible savings. But I would say that that's the hardest part of the old house is creating those updates and finding the time and energy to do so, and resources.
Right. But the cool side of that must be when you have family get-togethers. I mean, think about it. There's a century of laughter and tears and memories that have occurred in that house. What's that like?
Well, I like to think about the spirit of the house, and I like to think about all of the people that have, especially maybe if I'm having an especially stressful week or something, that, like you said, there have been generations that have experienced love and laughter and, births, deaths, excitement. So, it's sort of just reassuring. It's a lovely spirit in the house. And that's fun to have that.
Yeah, that's really neat. Are there any lessons from your house that you've been able to kind of hand off or hand down to your students?
So maybe both figuratively and on a very concrete level.
Okay.
Because I teach at the Career and Technology Center, many of my students work in the trades, and so we've been able to talk. I've been able to talk to them about the electrical system and knob and tubing. When we did our upgrade for our heating system, my students in the HVAC program were able to understand that and were very interested in that. So that's been a really fun process to talk to them about that and to show them, hey, this is what it was. Okay, what do you all suggest? And they all want to problem solve, and they've got different ideas. So that's been
really
a great
neat.
learning experience for both of us. And I can get their opinions. I've actually, not at Career and Technology Center, but a student in my previous school, a student was at CTC working on electrical, and he came over and fixed a light for me. So that's been, that's fun. And then, because I live in a small town, in this, the same community in which I grew up, we also talk about sort of building a network and building bridges and not burning them, and really maintaining those connections, just because I never thought I would live in my great-grandparents' house.
Never?
That was never the intention. I never thought I would come back to Frederick County. And I did.
Never say never.
Exactly. I did, and I'm here, and I love it. So, we talk about that in our career unit, about networking and building those, that community.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, thank you so much for sharing your family history and your home with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us as well. Stay tuned for the next FCPS All-Stars, and don't forget to shine on.